I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What up?
Hey
what
guys, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. We are here with the Tiger King, season 1, and we're going to cover episode 2 today. I'm your host, Jesse Zahner, and here with me is my boy, my favorite co-host, Al Gregg. Al, what's going on?
Hey everybody, it's your boy Al G, and you guys are hopefully used to seeing me and Jess work together. This is like our third show doing the show together.
Yes. I mean, I can't get enough of Al. He's just so great. I mean, if you guys saw last episode, he has all of the quarantine gear and items that you need to be locked up in your house and safe from the coronavirus. And so.
Oh, wait, Jess, I'm not done yet. I'm ready again. I've upgraded, my game. I got my I got my samurai sword.
Oh my God.
I got a gallon of bleach. If somebody runs after me, you're getting dosed with a gallon of bleach.
So guys, last episode, I was telling you guys that Al is basically gearing up for when this quarantine's over. He's going to move to Myrtle Beach to be part of Doc Antler's tribe over there. But as this goes on, it's like he's getting more and more like these guys. It's just like them. They can't leave the house without bulletproof vest. You have a sword or whatever is going on over there.
The apocalypse is making me more batty and more kind of zooey like these crazy guys. I dig their swag.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's great. I love it. So guys, today what we're going to do is we're just going to recap season 1, episode 2 of the Tiger King. If you joined us last episode, I called it the Lion King. Why didn't anybody call me out? What am I doing? I'm losing my mind. It's just I've had so much Joe Exotic mixed with the quarantine, mixed with everything else. I'm going crazy. But
Tiger King.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of tigers. Anyways, they're my favorite cat, and I love cats. So yeah, we're gonna talk episode 2 today. And then after that, we're going to move on to special segment by Al. And then we're going to go back to news and gossip because I got more news and gossip on Joe Exotic. Wanted to tell you, all you guys in live chat, thanks for joining us. Feel free to chime in. We already have some people in there now. We have Rose Manos who's saying this series kept getting crazier each episode. Joe Exotic's music videos were so bad. They were awesome. So we also love Joe Exotic's.
Oh wait, did you see how he sells the little Speedo leopard skin underwear? Can't you?
Dude, he's the best. He's selling underwear. He's selling sex gel. He's selling condoms with his face on them. I mean, you cannot go wrong.
They're all leopard skin and cat themed.
Right? I know. You know Carol's buying that stuff because her whole house and wardrobe is all cat stuff. She's jealous.
It's my opinion that she bit that. She probably stole that idea from him.
For sure. For sure. All right. So this episode is titled Cult of a Personality. And we kind of get into the cult of being part of the big cat society, because it seems like these sanctuaries have an owner who has this weird cult following. And it's kind of manipulative how they get these people on, because Joe learns a lot from Doc, but both of them kind of go after people who have nothing, they just got out of prison. They don't have anything. They're struggling. They need somewhere to live. They need somewhere to stay. And they find Joe and Doc and they end up there. So tell me what you think about some of the staff with this.
I mean, if you watched our previous episode, we talked about how Joe's staff is just basically this home for orphan broken people, and I think with him, I think it's sincere. I don't feel like there's much malice or conscious manipulation, because we talked about his background in the previous episode, how he's a gay guy who was totally lived inside the closet, repressed. His father hated him. He tried to kill himself, so he turned to drugs. Now he's sober, and he only hires ex-drug addicts and people just got out of prison, trying to give them a fresh start. So I have more of a positive spin on him. And, obviously they give the people a place to stay in these motel room. I'm not motel, these, what do you call those? Those trailers. Yeah. Now the trailers look pretty shitty, you know what I mean? But for somebody who didn't really have a place to live and can't get a job, and you got all that, and $100 a week pocket money. I actually think that's a come up. Like every employer they viewed of him, they loved him, you know, but not so much for some of the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I am Team Joe. Obviously, I like Joe. Some things we learn is well, a couple things. One, he pays his staff $150 a week, which is like not a lot of money. But Doc is even worse. He pays $100 a week. Mm-hmm. And then at the beginning of this episode, it actually starts with Saff, the girl we met in the previous episode, getting bit by a tiger and her arm being.
That was crazy. Yeah, you're kind of frozen there, Jess.
Okay, did you notice? Yeah, sorry. Let me see if I could. Yeah.
Well, it's not your fault. So I'll keep talking until you unfreeze. But yeah,
get better reception.
We were talking about the girl in the previous episode who got her arm bitten off.
Can you hear me?
I hear you chopping in and out.
Sorry about that. So, anyways, Joe's staff member Saff, she gets her arm like bit by this tiger, and it's crazy. Like a few things where like I'm just like questioning Joe is he says something like, I'm never going to be able to financially recover from this, which I thought was really insensitive because it's like your staff member just got her arm bit off, right?
Yeah, that's very selfish.
And then also like Saff is like such a like loyal person. She shows up in the hospital. Yeah, she's in the hospital. Rinky and Joe come to visit her, and she said she can actually, with her like bitten up hand, she can still write her name. Her hand's still functioning, but they tell her it's going to be like 2 years reconstructive surgery. And you know, she was thinking about it, or she can amputate it. But she was thinking about it, and she's like, "We got to give these animals a fighting chance, and the media will win if I'm in here forever." So she just gets out, and 7 days later, she's working back at the zoo.
She's a ride or die, like not just for Joe, but for the cause. She like legitimately loves the animals, loves Joe, loves what they do, and didn't want to let this incident be exploited. You know, she was saying, you know, it's my fault. I shouldn't have reached my hand in the cage. But yeah, I didn't like Joe's reaction, but at least he was honest. Like the one thing I was really couldn't believe he did, because I don't know if I would have done it in my business. When it happened, the incident, he went out and he told everybody, he's like, look, sorry, the show is closed down today because we had an incident where a tiger bit one of the employees. And I'm like, okay, maybe I would tell that for police, but personally, I wouldn't announce it to a crowd of people waiting outside until, you know, this all got sorted out. So again, he's flawed, but he's honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did you notice like the funniest part of that whole scene is that Joe somehow comes up with like a medic coat on? It's like, where did you get that? Like something goes on and you just have that sitting in the back, you just put it on and you're like, here I am, I'm gonna fix your arm right up.
Dude, this guy, he's a showman. He's also a magician, and he does explosives. That's so funny you mentioned that. He's just that total character. Like when it's time to, you know, to be police and security, he'll probably throw on his police hat and pull out his gun. When it's time to, you know, give somebody a Band-Aid, he'll put on the, you know, the lab coat. And when it's time to, you know, do his magic, he'll throw on his, you know, his magic hat. He's like, he does it all.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about the magic thing, but one thing I wanted to talk about, because I was curious about this in the first episode, is Saff brings it up. She talks about, she has like a really good, she's like really positive person, and she's like, nothing can bring me down. I work with a guy with no legs. And then they go over to Rinky, and I'm thinking, I've been thinking all along, what, did he get both of his legs bit off by tigers? But he tells us that he actually had this like zip lining incident where he was paralyzed, and he basically like wasn't going to walk again, but he just got up and started walking, and he walks like 20 miles a day, working 7 days a week, 12-hour days at the park.
That's what I mean about, like, I think when I look at Joe's staff and their story, to me, it's inspiring, because everyone, like I said, comes from like this broken, flawed background, you know, not, you know, people coming out of prison, people getting off the drugs. One guy say he wouldn't have been sober unless Joe took him there, and he had like 128 days. And then from this guy, you know, who had no legs. And just the fact that you had someone there like, yeah, I lost my hand, but the way I look at it is like, you know, I have my legs. I don't have to have any legs. Just everybody's attitude. I just love it.
Yeah, it is crazy. They have like they do get along really well, and they're like super loyal to Joe, and they have great attitudes. So Rinky's like definitely one of my favorite characters. I just love him. Let us know, guys, in the comments what you guys think, if you're a fan of Rinky and Saff and all of Joe's staff. But this episode, we do get into a little bit more about Joe's life and, you know, all these roles that he plays, because he is just like this crazy showman, just like you said, Al. He was like doing this thing where he was going around to schools and teaching kids about drugs, and he decided that it wasn't working, so he's going to add a magic element to it, and that wasn't working, so then he brought in animals, and then he was going to like malls. He's just crazy. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I like how his evolution. I feel like basically tigers basically saved his life. You know, from the emotional damage he incurred, but you know, as a result of dealing with these tigers, he got more confident, and you could kind of see like, you know, more kind of like the flashy, you know, cocky side of him come out, which is good. I think everybody should, you know, flex their freak flag, and that's what he's doing.
Right. So even when he's doing that, it's a little bit of what you talked about last episode, Al. While he was going mall to mall doing this like animal show, Carole had hired this other woman to specifically go after him and follow him around the country. She was sending like 5,000 emails a day to try to get Joe kicked off of doing this stuff.
I mean, to me, that's bonkers. And again, I know a lot of those people who were down with Carol's reserve probably have great intentions. But for number one, we talked about this. We don't see the difference between what they do, because they both keep the tigers in cages and they both make money off them. But more importantly, I think it's one thing to like, okay, say somebody, you know, across the city or in another part of the state is doing something I don't agree with, so I'm going to report them. I think that's totally legit. And if I think it's illegal, call pet control. But it's not just that. It's like this total obsession. Like, they followed him to like 32 states. They put people on him. They got people jumping over his yard. And to me, that's where I told you, like, it's all these people are basically super obsessed. But weird thing about Carole is like, I think one of her obsession, she's like diabolically obsessed with bringing Joe down. It's kind of like if you have somebody like a troll who constantly trolls you on Twitter, on Facebook, and you're like, okay, well, don't you have a life? It's one thing, yeah, it sucks what you're doing, but don't you have better things to do? And she reminds me of like that lonely, bitter old cat lady, which is what she is.
Yeah.
She's just a cat lady with big cats.
Yeah. So guys, if you're joining us in the live chat, thank you so much. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. I can't see your chats right now, but we really appreciate it. And once they're back up, I'll definitely add you guys into this. But just kind of going on more about the cult like aspect of these big cat owners. So you have Joe, you have all of his loyal followers and buddies, and then his husbands, which we'll get to, because then we move over to Doc. He has another cult following as well. Like I said, he pays his staff $100 a week, and we get to know this lady, Barbara Fisher, who's in Iowa. She's done with the big cat stuff. She's moved back to Iowa, but she went there as a young girl out of school. Her father took her. When she got down there, her father met Doc and was like, this guy's a ladies' man, don't fall in love with him.
And of course,
yeah, exactly. So she falls in love with him, and she's kind of like there living in this, like, what did she say? Like a horse stall with tons of cockroaches. I mean, first off, like, if I see one single cockroach, I would lose my mind. Okay. Like, I do not mess with cockroaches. And she was saying she'd pull out like a piece of bread and they'd be like covering it. Like, girl, go the F home. Why would you deal with this?
Right. Okay.
Go.
You're right. If you have resources, Jess, but think of it. Obviously, I think something, they didn't get into it yet, but something's going on with her home life. It was problematic. They didn't say, but.
You might be right. Because I was like, tell your dad to come pick your ass up, because I don't want to deal with all those cockroaches. Are you serious? So there's that.
What dad would drop their, I don't know, 17 or 18-year-old off to live with the man who's like in his 50s? So the dad's crazy for doing that. And number two, here's Joe's game. Here's his manipulation. And it's culty, but it's not illegal. Peep this out. When you talked about how the first place she stayed had all these cockroaches, but what did the other girl tell her? She's like, yo, giving her some game. She's like, yo, really, if you want to, move up and, get some nicer digs, you kind of like got to get with Joe. You know what I mean?
With Doc.
Doc, I'm saying, yeah.
I
Got to get with Doc, you know what I mean? Please him. And then once you do that, then you get into the big harem. They each had their own house by the end of the thing, right, Jess?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So like Joe gets these people that are coming out of prison that don't have anywhere to go, and they kind of become super loyal, like a cult to Joe. On the other hand, Doc has all these girls who come at like 17 years old or when they're really, really young, and he like manipulates them into like living in this horse stall, getting paid $100 a week. Oh, now you got to go get a boob job. Cool, fine. I mean, and
I love
then
the boob job story.
Yeah, and then you're driving through his like, I don't know, whatever, and there's China's house, and there's, what are their names? China, there's Mocha's house, there's the other girl's house. They all have 3 big houses.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, maybe also like one person being manipulative, another person call it game. I don't know, whatever. One person's gurus, one person's Mac not too much difference between a pimp and a player, but
yeah. So go ahead, Al.
No, I was just gonna say, but this compound he literally has his own little city. He has like several square blocks where we were talking about with different homes, and one wife lives in this home, one wife lives in this one, another girl. So I think it's one of those things where if you had something better going on, you would do it. And I think, what was the name of the girl you said who lived in Iowa who left?
Barbara Fisher.
Yeah, well, she was saying that it was culty, and she was like, yeah, I had to get out of the cult. And she was like, I didn't really have a place to go. And she was one with the roaches. But to the extent that you can graduate, to live in a big home, all your bills paid, you're not getting paid jack, but you live there and all your food and your shelters for free. I mean, at the end of the day, they all stayed till they were well into their adulthood, I know she was over until her 20s, and she stayed, and she was like, yeah, there's no locks on the door. You can leave when you want. But,
yeah. So China's been there since she was 17. Rajani, his second wife, was there started 20 years ago, and Mocha started 16 years ago. So these guys have been living there forever. And Barbara was there from 1999 to 2007. So yeah, I mean, they're staying there for a long time. I also thought it was funny. They asked Barbara what Doc was a doctor of, and she said mystical science. And we find out that Bhagwan actually means Lord.
Oh my goodness. He has all the girls call him Lord, basically call him God.
Right? Lord Al. I'm going to call you Lord Al from now on.
He's the best. You know what? He's not just, he's not no ordinary guru to me. He's just a pimp. He's just a pimp. A high class pimp with game. That's what he is.
He is. So the way we ended up here with like finding out about all these wives that he has is actually, we met this guy earlier in the episode named Mario, who owns ZWF Zoo in Miami, and he's like the Scarface of the big cat game. Like he was a huge drug dealer who would like turn in like suitcases full of money to the bank, and he like helped murder this guy and like do away with the body. And
oh my God, he's saying when he drives down the street, people literally call him Scarface. They're like, you're a Scarface. And
yeah.
Like everything that Jess was saying, let me just paint the picture, guys. They were literally cutting and seeing some Scarface that mimicked his life, from what Jess said, to like carry in the trash bags into the bank of just cash, and they couldn't count it all, to literally he was like, we dismembered a guy with the saw, just like the Scarface scene, like with the electric saw. He was like, yeah, I was, I'm not saying I'm the one that cut him with the circular saw, but I was there, I'm not saying, you know, I had anything to do with it, but, you know, it happened in my car, and, you know, and he disappeared, you know, in my backyard.
Right. But he's like, I did the time, so like I'm out now, so why can't I own these? Because Carroll is, of course, after him too. It's so funny. Carroll's after all these guys, so all these guys are like together against Carroll, but Joe is just like way above like he hates Carroll on another level.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think the reason, well, I don't want to jump to, because I don't want to speculate how it ends, but my prediction is that Carroll will probably come on top in the mainstream society simply because you can point to each of those guys. They kind of march to their own beat of a different drum. You can characterize them as a shady characters. Not even bad, because like Mario, the guy, the ex-drug dealer, I agree with you. He served his time, so you can't. He's done restitution. You can't continue to be a citizen if you haven't done restitution. But guys like him, they can't go get a job at a bank. Nobody's gonna hire. So I think that field kind of attracts those shady people, just like Joe. You know, he's turned it into one of those things where, you know, like I said, where he brings in people who are trying to get off drugs and they're convicts who can't get a job anywhere else. But for somebody like Carole, she's looking at him like he's trash. She's not looking at him like he's a good guy. She's like, why are you having this ex-con? Same thing with Doc, you know, like the guru. Anybody else would look at him, you know, as, like we said, might just be a high-class pimp. But to me, he's more just, he comes from that like free love 60s era. So again, like, it's all in the way you look at it. I like those characters, but I do know that Carole represents mainstream society, and it's easy to point the finger and kind of discredit the rest of those guys.
Right. So, so yeah, we see Mario, him and his wife his wife actually kind of drops the ball about Doc and his wives, because they know Doc very well. So Doc, you know, is basically the guru to Joe. Joe loves Doc. Joe learned everything. So Joe's going to go, and he decides he's going to have another husband, just like Joe, or just like Doc has 3 wives. He's going to get another husband. And this kid rolls up, 19-year-old kid named Travis from Southern California, comes to GW Zoo, and he's so innocent and, you know, nice, seems like a really nice kid. And it's what you were talking about last episode, Al.
Yeah, I accidentally let the cat out of the bag episode. I'm sorry, but I'll repeat the story now if you don't mind, Jess. The new kid, Travis, well, he's basically dating this other guy, kind of like this muscle-bound, tattooed up, you know, ex-felon or whatever. And he met the guy when he was 17 too. Get him while they're young. But the new guy, Travis, I guess what, he's like 18 or 19, tall, good-looking kid, looks like just regular suburban white kid, surfer, whatever, everyday kid next door. And Joe's like, well, how straight are you? And he's like, yo, I'm straight, you know? And then Joe hits him with well, do you ever watch porn? And he told that joke, like, and the kid's like, yeah, I watch porn. All guys watch porn. He's like, well, do you like the guy who's doing it with the big penis or the little penis? And he's like, I guess I like to see the guy with the big penis doing it, you know, because porn is all fantasy. And he's like, see, that means you're gay, just like me. And he turned it. He did, because that's what they say about John too, his first husband. Basically, John met him right when he got out of school, like a month later, and he nobody thinks he was gay, but he started dating Joe. And then he meets this 19-year-old Travis, and he's really, really into him right away. And so he has that conversation with him, and then he goes and asks John, can we be in a relationship with Travis as well? And John's like, sure. And then, you know, next thing you know, they're married. Like we see their wedding. So, I mean, again, I'm more of a laissez-faire libertarian. I think, you know, all sex work should be legal. Drugs should be legal. That's just me. As long as you don't hurt anybody, involve any minors, things like that. Nobody gets help. Nobody gets hurt. So morally, I don't have a problem with it, but I gotta recognize game, man. I was alluding to the pimp thing. That's what pimps do. They find girls while they're 17, young, kind of mold them, then they turn them out. When the street term turning somebody out is basically flipping them sexually. So he turned the straight guy out. He turned him sexually. So I don't know. I mean, I almost got to give it up to him.
Yeah, we got Julie Walker in the live chat. Hey guys, everybody that's joining us in the live chat, I can see it again. So feel free to comment or have it, like, shoot any questions toward us. But Julie Walker says, "Oh my God, so funny. These guys are trying to say they weren't gay. Give me a break."
She's probably right. She's actually probably right. But I don't know, man. Who knows? They take a lot of drugs over there. They probably had some crazy nights.
Yeah, you guys just stay tuned. And if you haven't binged the whole series yet, there is so much more with both John and Travis to come. So you'll find out, and maybe your perspective will change on if they are gay or straight or whatever. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But this is just what people are saying. So,
I like what she said. But again, let's just say he was bi-curious. He was young.
for sure.
I'm just saying people are easier. They do things when they're younger. We all know when we're immature, things that you may not necessarily do. I mean, that guy, 5 years later, he could be in a relationship with a woman now. But no, I agree. Duly noted.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about Joe's cult. We talked a little bit about Doc's cult, but we didn't talk yet about Carol's cult, because Carole has a cult of her own, and she does it a little bit different to make it seem like it's okay. It's like Carole does these things. She's so smart in the fact that she can do things just like these guys are, but she thinks of a way where society will think it's okay. So her cult is, she has like 1 million people who work for free for her. They're volunteers. And she set up this whole program of different shirts mean different things. So if you have a yellow shirt, you're one thing. And then you have to take a test to get a green shirt. And then after you're a green shirt for a year, you get a different color shirt, and on until you're like there for like 2, 5, 10, however many years.
Oh my God, we were talking about this, Jess, how Carole, to me, I mean, she seems like a nice lady on the outside, you know, doesn't, quote, break the law, but we'll find out later about her past. But she seems like a nice lady next door, kind of cat lady. But to me, she's the biggest hypocrite, because she's going after these other guys, and to us, it seems like she does the same thing. She keeps animals in cages, and she charges for people to come see them, but she doesn't even pay her workers. At least like Doc and Joe pay their workers. It's not much, but they give them a place to stay. She makes those people work for free around the clock.
Right. But it is kind of like what you're saying, where Joe is getting these people out of prison that have nowhere to go. Doc is like, working his ways with these younger women. Carole is almost like a higher socioeconomic status, because like these people that are volunteering, obviously they seem like they don't need somewhere to stay. They don't need money. She twisted in a way where she's getting these people to do something out of the kindness of her heart. Like, oh, I'm volunteering and helping these cats and helping this woman who's, saving all these animals.
Who's the bigger pimp? Carole or Doc or Joe? To me, Carole is the bigger pimp. She got them turning tricks for free.
I don't know, but if anybody's out there watching this, please comment or, hit us up on social media. I'm wondering if there's any Carole fans out there, because when you literally look at everything she says and does, you're like, oh, this makes sense. She doesn't want to breed animals and leave them in cages. She's saving the ones that the other guys can't take care of. She's having these people volunteer. She's not manipulating anybody, but it's like, but I mean, we find out other things too. But I'm just like, is there anybody that loves Carole out there? Because I was also reading on like Barstool this week, she's the most hated woman in America.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like, Jess, like the average American, especially like in hard times where a lot of people like having hard times financially, like look what's going on right now with the recession and the stock market crash. I think people relate to the underdog. And while those other guys, Joe, Doc, and Mario, they do have, like penitentiary records, they don't appear to be breaking the law because they haven't been arrested. The laws are really loose, apparently, really gray and really nebulous about owning a tiger. Like technically you're not supposed to own one, but yet they sell to all the zoos. Every zoo you can think of in every state bought them from those guys. And technically you're not supposed to breed, but the zookeepers come and get their pups. So like I said, it's a really gray area, but Carole has successfully packaged herself as, like I said, is more of a mainstream, nice Wonder Bread lady from the suburb, and who can point the finger at like these other, problematic characters. When again, in my opinion, she's just as problematic, but she has just a better presentation.
And we have people in live chat also commenting about Carol's, I don't know if she calls them interns, what she calls them, but Rose Manos, who was with us last episode, thanks for joining us again, Rose. She says Carol's using slave labor. Julie Walker says, brainwashed minions. That's what she's calling Carol's workers. And Jill Z, also in the chat, brings up that's probably how she got her first husband too. So this is actually something to think about. There's so much more that happens in Carol's story. These first 2 episodes, you're like, oh, Carol's not that bad. Even though I couldn't stand her from the beginning, just because I was a Joe fan and I knew she was trying to take Joe down, and Joe had this like huge hatred for her. The next episode, because again, I binged this whole series, the next episode, we really get into Carol more. So right now you might be thinking Carol's not that bad, but.
Okay, can we get into her story when how she met her ex-husband? Are we there yet or no?
Or we're not there quite yet, because but I know you brought it up, so you can mention it. Just don't say everything that happened, because next episode is going to be heavy into Carol.
Okay, yeah, it's hard for me to keep track. Yeah, but without saying too many spoilers, it's basically like you said. We basically learn that Carol isn't like this sweet Christian, domesticate who has this pure heart for saving animals. I mean, I'm sure there's a part of her. I like to give people some credit. There's a part of her that loves that, but you just see a whole other like shadier side to her later on.
I know. So, I mean, it just gets crazier from here, guys. As most of you know, because really, if you're watching this series, you've watched episode 1 and you're hooked, because nobody can see Joe Exotic and not be like, I need more Joe. Like, he's amazing. Everybody's probably just binging this. If you are still unsure, continue to watch, because next episode, the 3rd episode, gets even crazier, but with Carol this time. So we talked about episode 1. We just covered episode 2. Stick with us for the rest of the season, guys. We will cover all of the episodes, but this is it for episode 2, and we are going to move on to Al G's segment. Al, take it away.
Yeah, it's time for we're talking about wildlife, so it's time for the Algae Wild segment. We're talking about Netflix and quarantine, Netflix and chill. But imagine if you were locked on quarantine, with a crazy animal. So last week we were talking about how this is related to, what's going on with the coronavirus, the lockdown. We compared it to the zombie apocalypse. So I read a story about zombie ants. So now I'm going to read you a story about some crazy wild seagulls. And we want to hear your stories too, your crazy animal stories too. And like, if you ever been cooped up with one, sometimes a person can be the crazy animal, just like Joe. Imagine like being locked down with him. But here we go. This one's called Seagulls Don't Like Being Stared At. How can beachgoers keep pesky seagulls from swiping their snacks? Apparently, simply staring at the birds might do the trick. According to a study published in August, researchers tempted herring gulls in coastal Cornwall with bags of fried potatoes and tested how the birds behaved when they were watched. And when they were ignored, gulls became more cautious about inspecting food when placed under human surveillance. And many of the birds lost their interest in the fare altogether. In contrast, when the team ignored the birds always pecked at the bag of tasty taters. So what does that tell us, ladies and gentlemen, is that you just got to give, a seagulls, if they're looking over here at your lunch and at your picnic, you just got to give them like that hard look, like that death. You know what I mean? Like it's like children. If you let them run amok and you ignore them, next thing you know, they're gonna be climbing all over you and raiding your fridge. But if you stare at them, that's the thing from this proven study. If you stare at seagulls, they will back down. So we'll put that in the category of just like if it's you and an animal, you just gotta let them know who's boss.
Oh my gosh. See, guys, you're learning so much here from this podcast. It's incredible. Thanks, Al, for that. I have a crazy quarantine story from my family. My dad and mom are quarantined in Raleigh, North Carolina, right? And they're staying away from my sister, who's out there as well, because they don't want to get coronavirus.
Oh, she got the same treatment I did. I'm sorry.
No, she did. Actually, she's given them that treatment, other way around. But they went for their first time grocery shopping, like out in public, and my dad was in such a rush to get everything and get out so that he didn't contract the virus in the store, that when he was on his way out, a sliding door came across. He was flying out of the store, hit it as hard as he could with his cart, knocked the door off the track of the grocery store. And then he says to my mom, "Oh, these things come off their track all the time," and just pounded it till it went back in and acted like it was no big deal, and then rushed home. I'm like, he's serious about that quarantine. You can't mess with my dad.
Guess what? You got to be about your game. It's like the apocalypse out there. I told you, people gonna start like getting violent. You know, food's gonna get short. I told you we're this close to going Lord of the Flies up in here. So I think your dad has got the right idea. He's ready to go. He's rock and roll. He's about that life.
Yeah, try not to blast a door out at a grocery store though, guys. But anyways, let's move on, because I have a news and gossip, because there's so much news surrounding Joe Exotic. So now the Tiger King himself, Joe Exotic, files a $94 million lawsuit and wants the president to pardon him. Okay. So the lawsuit has been filed in the name of justice. The Trump administration must be made aware of it. And basically, Joe Exotic is going to represent himself in the lawsuit. He refers to himself in third person as Joe Maldonado Passage, which, guys, yes, he takes Travis's last name. There's more that comes to this story, so you'll find out about the whole passage. He filed it in federal court in Oklahoma, and he alleges that the Fish and Wildlife Service put tigers on endangered species lists for the sole purpose of allowing animal rights groups to sue small zoos and circuses to make privately owned tigers extinct. So he's back in the news. He wants Trump to pardon him. And I think we should all start tweeting Trump and have him pardon him. Kim Kardashian is actually watching this show. Kim Kardashian is actually watching the show. We need to get on her, because, you know, she'll show up to the White House. She'll say, "Trump, we need to get Joe Exotic out of jail." And Trump will be like, "It's done. Let's get him out."
I'm not a big fan of Trump's politics, but she got him to release a few nonviolent criminals. So if Kim K can do that, yo, Kim, we need you to holler at us and holler at Trump for us.
Yes, I know. Oh my gosh, we need Joe Exotic out of prison so bad. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys up to date.
No, I'm sorry, Jess. I was going to say real quick, what you alluded to in your story, what I took away from that again is like the big guy from the little guy. Like we have basically, because he's a private owner, he's basically being sabotaged and trying to get gobbled up by the corporate owners, by the PETAs and the bigger reservations. So that's the thing. It's really a beef between the private owners and the bigger, more established companies who do the same thing.
Right. So that's it for episode 2, guys. Thanks so much for joining us for episode 1 and 2. I just want to give a shout out to Julie Walker, Jilly Z, You Rap Guy, Rose Manos, just everybody that joined us today. It's been so much fun talking the Tiger King with you guys. I'm a huge fan of the show. Like I said, I binged this right away. Al and I will be back to talk episode 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Comment, hit us up on social media. Tell us what you guys think of the show. Let us know if there's any news and gossip that you guys hear. Let us know your craziest quarantine story and how you guys are staying safe, social distancing. You're staying so much.
Jack, don't forget to mention the IG Live.
Yeah, and we're trying to work it out so that we can do an IG Live, just so we can talk more and just have like a more laid back discussion with you guys. So we're going to try to work that out as soon as we can. But until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.